So we're going to get started for everybody here online. Thank you everybody for coming today. Today's meetup. My name is Nick Despotidis with DC Grid, investment minded. So I have a little exercise to start us off with, just to get us in the right mindset, because you guys did one thing that a lot of people, other people didn't do today. And that's show up. It takes a lot to show up, right? For yourself, for your business. You know, we're different than everybody else because we think differently. We're investment minded. We want passive income, right? We want our lifestyle to be defined not by our job, our 9 to 5, but by our business, our rental properties that can fund our lifestyle. So we don't want to just buy one house. We just don't want to flip one house. We want to flip one more house, then another house, then another house, then buy another house, hold another house, one more, until we have enough to pay for our lifestyle. So let's say our monthly expenses to live, our mortgage, our groceries, our transportation expenses add up to $6,000, right? So we have to figure out, my job is paying me 10 grand, or my job is covering that $6,000. How could I get my investment properties? One more investment property to fund that $6,000. If I buy one rental property in DC and it cash flows $600, and I buy 2 rental properties every year, it'll take me 10 years. Did I do that right? $600, 6,000, 10. So it'll take me 5 years if I do 2. Take me 5 years to get out of, because everybody has a 9 to 5, right? Everybody could go to job and show up, but you guys showed up here today because you want something more than the 9 to 5. You want to stop everybody from scheduling things on your calendar, back-to-back meetings, and you want to put things in your calendar, right? Define your life, where you're not going to your job and having to wait till 5 o'clock to start doing work because you haven't had time to do work because everybody's on your damn schedule. And I'm sick and tired of it. Because honestly, I've been in your shoes, and my grandfather's been in your shoes, and all it was working from the start of the day to the end of the day. All you were working with for someone else for that $6,000 a month. Now, my grandfather did that for many years, and he saved. He was a good saver. Oh yeah, here you go. Yeah, thanks. Thank you. So I'll tell you this one story. Yeah, I'll tell you this one story, and then I'll let you guys write this down. If you don't have a pen, you might have to borrow one from a friend because
I have an extra one. Anybody want a pen?
But there's a little exercise to do here to start you off, because you showed up, and that's 80% of the job is showing up for yourself. But then you have to do the work. You have to set a commitment to yourself to do one more thing and one more thing. And I only have a certain amount of these. I think that's one of my last ones. I've got 2 more. One for Carl. One more. So the next thing you have to do is set a commitment to do one more thing outside of this meetup group. I don't care if that's to save money, $500 a month, $500 a week, or $50 more than that $500 that you saved. It's one more. You could always do one more. And that is the purpose of this. And I want to tell you the story beforehand of why I got into real estate. And I'm sure everybody has a good story. And at the end of this, if you look on the back, we're going to have a chance of networking. So we have a small itinerary so you pace yourself of what's going on. But my grandfather, he worked 9 to 5, or actually he worked like night and day, running a diner in Astoria, Queens on 30th Avenue. This was back in the 60s when, you eat what you kill. He had to show up to work and he ran the restaurant. He made the food, he did the laundry, he washed the dishes, and the whole family. It was a family business. And it was called Rudy's Luncheonette. That's what it's called. It's on 30th Avenue. And he worked, and he was a good saver. So after every paycheck, he would put some aside. He had a separate account. He would put some aside. Then for the past 25 years, my grandfather has run a hobby shop. And I said, Grandpa, how are you running this hobby shop after working so hard? He said, well, I learned one thing, and that's to have someone else pay for your lifestyle. So that $6,000 or whatever cost it is, my tenants pay for that. I own this building free and clear. I've been doing this for 25 years. I've been setting aside as a good saver like I am. But the real estate let me live the lifestyle of a business that makes no money as a hobby shop, but it gets me up every morning. And it's taken, since I was a little kid, I would love going there. But now as an adult, I truly understand what he was talking about, that his tenants pay for his lifestyle. So that doesn't make any sense. So what I want you to do is get out of your 9 to 5, figure out what one step you're to take, and there's a little activity you can fill in, and just do this for the next 2 minutes while we get settled in.
Are you gonna send me a soft copy of this?
Oh yeah.
Okay. So
Okay.
I don't want to mess it up. And
Yeah.
I have a copy.
You want to do the whole page?
Mhm.
Oh.
I have one more.
For me. Let's say here, 6 months.
We'll have networking in the end. Let's try to focus on this for the people that are trying to improve themselves. So for those that are online, I have a little worksheet here. I ask people to fill out, and it's basically a commitment and a challenge. What is the one thing that is challenging me to buy my next rental property? What is the biggest challenge? Is it savings? So how much savings do you have to set aside? What conversations do you have to have in order, just one conversation to get you one step further to buying that rental property? Is it with a lender? Is it with Dr. Joe? Is it with Nick or Carlos or your realtor? Is it with your wife or your partner? And then how are you going to find the property? What are you going to do? What is your criteria? What kind of house? What kind of lifestyle do you want to live? Do you want to be, investing in Detroit because you got a buddy there? But for me, that would be anxiety provoking. So I want something that's in the back of my house, something that's really close to me. And then how are you going to get financing? So what lenders are you going to start talking with? And then it has the next meetup group will be March 21st. So put that in your calendar, March 21st, take out your calendar. March 21st, that's a Tuesday. It'll be during a weekday, 5:30 to 7:30. So it'll be a little bit more difficult, but we're hoping to maybe do some weekend ones and some weekday ones so everybody can join. Anybody want to share our aha real quick before we get into it? Carlos. Oh, okay. Anybody have an aha? So we're going to go for another 10 minutes. And then if you look in the back here, it has our itinerary. 1 to 1:30, we're going to do introductions. Then we have 2 great guests, and thank you for being voluntold to share your experience, as big or as little as it is. So we have two great guests today. And then we're going to get a little bit more into creative financing and a market update. And then at the end, we'll get to network, exchange cards and info, and hopefully keep the momentum going outside this network is to build. So to grow your database, so these people are in your database, you need contacts. If you're going to buy one more house, you need to have someone that's going to sell you the house, right? That might be a real estate agent or a friend that knows of someone. And you're going to get a return on your relationships. The more you put into people, whether that's your prospective client or your partner that's going to fund you, you want to invest in those relationships. And you want to develop leadership experience and expertise so you can lead this way forward to get that one property, that two properties, that three properties. People say, how do you find motivated sellers? And there's a million ways to do it, but I'll tell you one easy way: to keep your eyes open. So I listed a house on West Virginia Avenue for $960,000. It's a 4-unit and it doesn't cash flow, but it's vacant. So, and people say, how did you meet that seller? Did you cold call them? Did you have a list? Did a friend or family member refer you to him? I said, no, I just kept my eyes open. I was walking down the street. I showed a property on West Virginia. I walked out and he said, hey, and he was, you could smell the alcohol on him. So I thought he was just joking around. And I said, why, you want to buy it? Jokingly. And it was a single guy, a little disheveled. He said, no, I own these two right here. You want to see them? And the rest is history. So that was the way I found a motivated seller. Just keeping your eyes open and talking with people around your community, because they're all here. 1 out of every 7 people, or one out of every 7 years, someone sells. Something like 55% of the people that live in DC are owners. 45% are renters. So 50% chance if you meet someone on the street, they are an owner that might want to own. So you just got to keep your eyes open. If you don't own already, the statistic is stacked against you, and that's the first slide. So it goes by the year. If you own, you kind of see owning kind of sucks in the beginning, and I'm sure everybody knows that. I had a plumber out this week, and it was a big expense. So you get a lot of expenses up front. So you see 9,000, but then you see renting and investing, and this is in the market. This is your net worth, and then renting plus 10% investing. So you invest a little money.
What does that mean? Stuff about renting and investing. What do you mean by that?
This is a statistic with KW, and I believe it is just a normal return if you were to take that money from the down payment that you bought into investing in the market. At a normal return. And basically the break-even point is at 3 years when owning is 42,000 and renting and investing that down payment money, right? Because you don't have the down payment money. Let's say 20% of $300,000 house is 60 grand. You put that 60 grand into the market. So renting and investing, now you go down to the bottom. Your net worth is 234,000 for owning, and for renting, it's only 100 grand. So if you want to get out of that 9 to 5, if you want to retire like my grandfather did, you're going to have to start owning things, right? Not renting things, because you'll be growing, right? But not at the same rate. It's not an even playing field if you own, because it's expedited, it's compound interest. Something like 25% growth ROI just by owning in Washington, D.C. That includes the appreciation, payments to principal, and the tax benefits. 25% average growth of owning a real estate. So you really have. So if you don't own yet and you're just renting, there is a good story. There is still time. You can still save money.
Can you explain that 25% number again?
Sure. So 25% is the average return of owning a house. So let's break that down. And And Carlos, you might have to come up here.
No, I like you right there.
So 25%. So let's say we buy a $300,000 house. That's an easy example, right? And we appreciate that inflation is typically 2-3%. So what is that? $9,000, right? And then what is your mortgage payment on a $300,000 house? I'll tell you because I know. It's about $2,000. $2,000, but a lot of that goes to the bank. So only $400 out of that, believe it or not, out of that $2,000 goes towards your mortgage. Annualize it, that's $4,800. Let's call it $5,000. You got $9,000 from the appreciation, $5,000 from the payments to principal. So that leaves us with $14,000. And what's the one other thing? We got appreciation, taxes, depreciate. There's one more. What is it?
Those are the big ones. Payments to principal and appreciation.
Mm-hmm. So $15,000, and how much do you typically have to put down? And this is a myth, by the way. 20%. So let's say we put 60,000. Who has a calculator? Could do 14,000 over 60,000.
It's almost 25%.
Is it? Okay, so that's where I got the 25%. So it costs, and you actually don't have to put 20% down.
That's fine.
There.
To not do that again.
Not to do. Unfortunately, you do if you're an investor. But there are creative financing strategies which we'll learn about. If you're really good and a good salesman like myself and Carlos, you can sell people on the idea and invest in you and with you. And we'll hear a little bit more about that because that's a huge thing. What is it? Investing with other people's money? What is that called? Say it one more time. OPM, other people's money. I haven't gotten there yet, but that's why I'm here. I'm taking the class. I'm participating. So that's where I got the 25%. Just by owning real estate, you already got a 25% return on the market. Now, if you looked at the stock market last year, it went down and up and down, but mainly down. And the return was negative. So you're already beating the market. On a high market, you get 10, 18% real estate outperforms. So you're ahead of the game. Another thing on the next slide, and I got one more minute, is mortgage rates. If you look at the blue line, that's the annualized mortgage rate percentage. The green line is historical average from 72 to 2002, and that's around, if I could track my eye, that's around 7.8%. So back when my grandfather was young, 70s, the average was 7%, 7.8%. Does anybody know where mortgage rates are today?
Yeah.
About that. I mean, might as well be 8%.
But real estate, the cost of real estate is multiplied multiple times.
That's true.
So it's 7% on a much lower overall amount.
Yeah, we'll get into that too. That's a good point. But just to conceptualize it, it's about 7%. 6.5% is actually the average interest rate people are getting. You can get lower, but on average, FHA, conventional, bank credit, good credit. 6% over the past, since 1990, 6%, so a little bit lower. And we're at, so in this chart at 2022 was about 5.3% in 2022. Now they're at about 6.5%, like I said. So that's the biggest misconception is, this is the biggest excuse for people, like why I can't invest, why I can't buy one more property. And we're in a shift right now. You probably heard it, but I'm saying it again. This is the time to buy during shifts. You know, everybody, you might have missed your window. The window opened a long time ago when rates started going up. But this is the second window, or the second best window is right now. And it's an opportunity market. So you have to ask yourself, do you have a wealth mindset? We're here for a reason. We're here not to do the 9-to-5 job where other people tell us what to do. We have a wealth mindset for something bigger. Is your business, so you have a job, I know that everybody has a job, or most people do, but we also have a business that you can control, and your business is investing in real estate, right? That's something you can control. Do you have habits? Do you have a wealth building group that tracks your net worth? You know, there's 7 steps to being, or 7 habits of a millionaire mindset. One of them is track your net worth. Do you know the rules of investing? And what's your strategy for this market? And if you look at this, Washington, D.C., 2023, so it's the latest market information on the D.C. market. Actually, it's on the metro market. And you'll see it's a sad story. It's all, I don't have to tell you that. Days on market, it's taken 17 days more than last year. So 30 days median days on market. Things are sitting on longer. There's less in inventory. 60% of the listings are decreasing in price. It's a sad story for real
Are
estate.
what increasing in price or decreasing?
I said the median days on market is increasing. And the number of listings, the price drops. 60% of the houses are dropping in price. Dropping. 50, yeah, I think the average sales price was closed sales. Median price only went down 0.2% in the DMV. In DC, it went down 15% price. Okay. So it's a sad story. And today, what you're here for and to hear about are creative tools to put in your toolbox. So how are we going to get from working a job to working your own business? And it's by doing these creative financing. There's tried and true ways, but then there's creative ways. So if you're on the streets like I was, I could probably figure out a tricky way to buy that 4 unit for $960,000. And we're going to find out today. So without further ado, I have our first guest. Let's see who I got up here first. Joe, you're the lucky man. You come on up here. Let's give Joe a round of applause. Thanks, Joe.
Thanks for hosting this. Oh, that's great.
The story I want to tell it. Joe is part of YCI Properties, and he has a zest for investing. He works a 9-to-5 job. And how many rental properties do you have?
I have 5. One of them is like a 3-unit, and one of them is going to be a 2-unit soon.
It's a lot more than most people. And where do you work?
I work at Children's. Actually, I worked yesterday after midnight. Still 4 a.m. But yeah,
But I say, Joe, you got to be here.
yeah,
You're talking now.
yeah. Woke up at 11. Okay.
And Joe's Lebanese, and my wife is Lebanese too, so we have that. He's a client turned friend, and hopefully we'll have many things to share. But Joe doesn't have to be so nice to me, but he is, and he's so nice because he shared one of the craziest stories that I've ever heard this year in 2023. Do you mind sharing that story?
Which one?
Oh, the best story. The best story about your house on Whittier.
Oh, okay. So yeah, I mean, the help of Nick and Carlos, I found this, and Taylor too, found this house, and
A little louder.
but yes, I found this house in Brightwood, Northwest, close to Tacoma neighborhood, and we were looking for, along with my partner, Isamar and Shetty, who's not here, he's traveling. We wanted to find a house that's big enough, to accommodate us and offices, but also have a basement, / ADU, and able to rent it, and to lower the mortgage payment. So we found this great house, single family, detached, and we saw a vision. Basically, it's like, okay, what can we do with this house? And I'm always about maximizing dollar per square foot. And so, so that was our first step. Like, how can we maximize the value for this house? So we started, first it needed a lower gut job, and we don't have the money to do all the construction, but we had the money for a down payment, 5%. So we put down 5%, and also we had some savings. We had HELOC, from our previous home that we can use for the construction part. And also, I always talk about real estate. So I was, every time I meet friends, family, coworkers, the hospital, I'm always talking about real estate. So, too much, but it's a good thing. So, to get that vision and apply what we learned, basically, started to, some people came up to me. It's like, oh, we want to invest with you. And so I was like, okay, why not? I can basically raise some money from private investors and, use that for the construction part, basically, in order
Could I stop you there?
to renovate. Yeah.
So way before this, he had a vision. He had a vision. So it was a dream, and it became a reality. And and it started with one house. What was the first house you bought? Was in Frederick.
Yes, that's, in 2018.
So 2018. 2018. That was like yesterday.
Yeah, yeah.
And what is it?
Long time ago.
2023.
Yeah,
And
5 years.
5 years, and you have how many rentals?
5.
So you went 1 to 5 plus projects, which we'll write up. And he had a vision, and he made a commitment, and he held other people accountable. So he had a team, had a vision. He assembled a team of 3 very like-minded, great individuals, and he had a criteria. He knew what he wanted. He said, Nick, I want a house in this neighborhood at this square footage with a basement, with a ceiling height of this much.
Very detailed.
And this bedrooms, and these are the zip codes, and these are the subdivisions. And he sent it to me. And I said, wow, this guy knows what he wants. Right? He's like, Nick, I learned this from someone else. And so he got the best advice, someone that owned 40 houses, maybe even 50 houses. Right? So he had a vision. He had a plan. He got a support team, and he started in 2018. And the last thing, and I think that is so beautiful, is that he talks real estate nonstop. I don't care what other people think, because he's going to talk real estate, and people, man, Joe, talk about real estate, but that's how you define deals, right? That's how you define the people to invest with you, by telling your story. So go ahead. You were telling the story that you were talking to people so much that they were like, Joe, here's my freaking money.
Yeah, my coworker showed up, and at work came up to me and was like, I want to, I have 50,000. That's just, 50,000. No one ever gave me 50,000. It's like, okay, sure, why not? So, just did the promissory note.
A little louder. So he was talking about real estate. He was talking about his past deals that he did.
I show them pictures, photos, like current deals. Why am I doing this? Because I don't want to retire when I'm 65. I'll retire in 5 years. So I want to shorten that time. So I always talk about the why, which is also another important thing to keep you going. It's like, why am I doing this? So I mean, I was able to get money for construction, which is not cheap, especially when you add another level onto the house on top. So, and that's a single family. You're adding a level, and it's massive.
And Joe's
Yeah.
being humble. We have 6 rentals, and we're working on our
Sorry, I
7th.
missed one.
Yeah, so
Yes.
we have 8 altogether, but 2 are under construction.
Yes.
If I could go back just one more time
Mhm.
to when you came to me and you're like, Nick, this is what we do. Here's our pitch sheet. We have a 3-unit in Brookland. So you were halfway there. And basically, the one he hired a mentor.
Yes.
So they paid top dollar for the best coach. So save money, not only to buy real estate, but to fast track yourself, right? I've been thinking about investing for 5 years, but this guy did it in 5 years. He hired the best. I think that's one thing that yes, you did it, but you did it with a team, right? Get other people, like-minded people with you. It is like marriage, so make sure you interview them and they are together. So they do love each other too. Compatible. But that is a huge component. And they bought a house. This is, I don't want to derail the conversation, but basically you do a BRRRR method. Does anybody know what a BRRRR is? If not, I'll send out the video. Basically, you buy a house and you renovate it, and then you do a cash out refi and you take the cash out. And he did that successfully once, or maybe twice. But then this one, the story that he's going to tell is just mind blowing. So let's go through the numbers on not this one, but Whittier. So Whittier Place, beautiful house. Where is it located?
At Brightwood.
Brightwood Park, and that's close to
Northwest
Tacoma.
Tacoma. Yes.
Tacoma Park. So basically Tacoma.
5 minutes from Rock Creek.
And you had a vision, and I was like, "Free." You were, what did you call the basement? ADU.
Yeah.
And how many bedrooms was there?
Where and so in the basement there was 2 bedrooms, 1 bath, and upstairs was like 3 bedrooms and 2 baths.
That's when you purchased it.
Yeah.
And how much did you purchase it for?
700 and 10,000. 710.
See, realtors are always like, I got you that for 500,000, didn't I?
And,
No, it was 700. Nick, remember, it was a multiple offer situation. We escalated and this and
Yeah.
that. It was a high market. It was in 2021.
yeah, and also we gave the owners at that time like 30 days rent back for free. I mean, that was another way to kind of get the offer accepted.
Coming from contribution, that's huge
Yeah.
with these people because they're going to try nickel and dime you. And if you're going to try to nickel dime everybody out of your deals, you're going to be out of real estate. You're not going to do a deal. So
What's that 30-day thing you just said?
So basically, the seller at that time, they needed money to buy their next house,
Okay.
and they were like downsizing. So in order to get that money, they have to close on that deal, get that money, and then they needed more time to move too. So we were able to negotiate. I think it was like 30 to 45 days where they lived in the house after closing. And so basically rent free,
Thanks.
but of course we had some protection in place in case they stay past that time.
a little louder. Did you guys hear that back there, Ray?
Very
Yeah.
soft-spoken.
Yeah, Ray? Oh, wow.
So yeah, they stayed in the house, and after the 45 days, we were able to go in and start the renovation.
So 700,000 you purchased it for.
Yes.
And how much did you, what was your vision? Your vision was, hey, Nick, I'm going to make this what?
I mean, the best house in the block, but also like affordable because I want to rent it. I want to rent the ADU.
So the
and,
ADU is
lower my
a
mortgage payment.
accessory
Dwelling
dwelling unit, which is allowed in
And these zones,
Certain-
R1B and certain neighborhood in DC, you cannot have like 2 like apartments or 3 apartments. You can only have an accessory dwelling unit. So you have to live in the house in order to call it that.
Yeah, so going to these meetup groups, getting people's numbers, so someone might know something that you might not. And I'm sure Joe looked it up, but probably
Yes,
asked
before.
someone
Yes.
about the ADU. Because I'm becoming familiar, but with the detached houses in Brookland and Tacoma, you can't build 2 units. You could have what's called an ADU. Technically, some of these locations can't have an ADU, but the ADU basically said, Nick, I'm going to turn this basement into a rental producing unit in my basement. That's going to pay what?
$3,000.
$3,000.
Basement 3,000. I mean, usually basements are
Not in
around-
Capitol Hill, not in Georgetown, in Brightwood Park.
Yeah.
Wow. And did you do that?
Yeah, actually rented now at $3,000. So yeah.
That's amazing. I was totally blown away by that. I said, okay, keep going with your story, Joe. You're out for coffee. This is not the best story yet. So how much did you put in renovation?
So I put in total 550,000.
Wow.
Wow.
First off, kudos to you for buying a house
Wow.
for 700,000. So most people are like, that's too expensive. Why did you pay so much money for a $700,000 or for a house in Brightwood? 700,000 seems, it's just in the moment. You're just thinking like, what did I do?
Yeah.
That's what people think. Like, why do I want to overpay for a house? Nick, rates are up, prices are up. I'm overpaying and I'm going to be underwater. Like, those are trigger words for people. He did that, and then 500,000, mind you, cost of construction through the roof.
Yeah, we saw it last year.
The guy that did it, Joe basically wrestled him. You better do this job for
I mean,
300,000. You
basically,
committed to it
Yeah.
because the contractors were getting screwed. Why? Because they committed to the $300,000 budget, but their same lumber that cost $1 was now $13.
Right.
Now it's back down to $8. But construction costs quadruple. So that 400,000, or that 500,000 was a lot of money. It should have been 300,000. Same thing with here. $450,000 to renovate this house. Single family. His budget, $250,000 to $300,000. Why are prices going up? Why is stuff going on the market? It's because you bought at the peak, right? And you're selling at a discount because we're not at the peak anymore. And you paid more for the construction. So this guy that owns it, love him to death, is in a situation, and they're not making money just like some others, because it's a short-term game, right? You're shorting the market. You're trying to take opportunity, but real estate investors, people that want to make passive income, right, to replace their 9 to 5, think about buying rentals and keeping them, because you get how much percent in this market? 25%. How much do you get in this market? 25%. And this guy is getting negative. So keep going. So you're holding on to this property. You put a ton of money, 500,000 into it.
Yeah, 500. And also remember, I mean, this is gonna be my house too, at the top level. So, I put nicer finishes. So, we did that, and of course, it's not a short-term project. It's a commitment over. I think it took like eight months. And so it's a big project. Basically, we demoed the whole top floor, which was an attic, and built up a third-story level and a rooftop. So,
It's the best house. I'll send a link to it if you allow me. It's got a rooftop. They've got a tub inside of the shower. It is the best living. And did you buy this house with your money or other people's money?
I mean, no, for the down payment, it was our own money.
Okay.
Because it's private residence, so I live in there. So that was the 5% down.
Okay.
And that's the power of leverage. Paying 5%, you can control up to value of more than 1 million, on the house. So yeah, we did that renovation. Took 9 months. And
Where did you get the money for the renovation? If you don't mind me breaking that down.
Yeah, sure. I mean, we had some savings.
So you said 5%. So down payment, savings,
the
and
HELOC.
HELOC. So tell us, the HELOC was money from another house.
Another house that we actually,
Burke. So the first story of
Yep.
the Burr strategy, when you take money out, he took that money and used it as a HELOC to put into the renovation of this one.
right. And also we had, private investor that they just want to invest with me. And
So it was
I
other
used
people's
that.
money,
Yes.
but you
Yeah,
were going to
they-
promise them a return, right? So you did
Correct.
a promissory note.
Mhm.
So anybody that wants to invest in a house that you buy, you sign a promissory note and you give them a specific return. So if you invest 50,000 with me, I guarantee you X, and you give them,
Correct. 6%.
oh, wow. I would have given him 10, but you give them 6% because you're good.
I'm cheap, I guess.
Yeah, well, 6%.
I mean, if you put that in savings, how much you gonna get? That's what I'm looking at.
Last year.
And it's not stock market, where I'm guaranteeing 6%. So,
I mean, yeah, he's becoming a sales guy. I mean, he's got 50,000. So the best part of the story, and we have 10 minutes left, so maybe we'll do a little Q&A for him and then we'll switch. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm curious,
Could you say your name?
yeah, Felipe Perez. I'm curious for the private money lender that you had, the fact that you were living on the top floor, did that increase your negotiating leverage as far as being able to ask for a lower interest rate than them?
From the private money, I mean, even the 6%.
Yeah,
They asked me how much, and I told them 6, and there was no negotiation or anything.
but they knew obviously that you were living on the top floor, right?
I'm living on 3 upper levels.
For the upper level
Yes, they knew, yeah. I mean, because they're also, so not only just return 6%, also like kind of walk them through the steps of, what I'm doing, so they can get exposed to that. So not just the 6% per se, they also wanted exposure to this kind of work, and because they also work at the hospital with me, and they were seeing what I'm doing. Yeah, I mean, yes, I
But they
mean,
know you and trust.
they
you.
know me, trust me, and in addition to the 6%, they are able to see what I'm doing. So if they want to do their own, at least they had some kind of exposure to this, and they're not like afraid to do the first step.
But you don't think that you living on the top 3 floors impacted the deal at all?
No. Yeah.
Just curious.
Pass this around. Before we get into more questions, the mic drop is going to come. So you bought this for 700,000, put 500 grand into it. That's 1.2 million dollars. Holy cow! Wow. 3 partners. You had a vision. You're renting out the basement. The place looks immaculate. You had some challenges along the way. You had to rebuild some things, and some things were in budget. Took you not 6 months, but 8 months. You interviewed some contractors, but now you're at the finished product, and you told me you were prepared. You knew what you wanted. You had a criteria. They made pitch decks, right? It wasn't sloppy. You guys knew what you're doing. So how did you? Why is refinancing so important? Part of the BRRRR process, and how did you prepare to make sure that it appraised for the most amount of money?
Right. I mean, before I did all this, I had that like a year ago on a piece of paper, like, okay, so what am I doing? What are the numbers? It's going to be over budget, of course. It's always going to take more time and more money. So I took that into account, and basically, with that 700,000 and 500,000, that's 1.2. We wanted to make sure we maximized the value. So we added a rooftop, we had the basement, separate meters for electric, top finishes. So when the appraiser will come, at least they'll see that this house is, worth what I'm going to tell them it's worth. So I had prepared an appraisal booklet, basically explaining what we've done, how much we put in, show them like before and after photos, and also tell them like specifics, like, okay, this is a separate AC unit, separate electric meters, all that stuff, and hardwood floor, and it's going to be a rental, furnished, to maximize the value, and the rooftop deck, on a single family. So all that stuff that he's never seen, and we're trying to like have a wow effect basically when he walks in.
So Joe goes to me, and we're sitting coffee, and this is a tough day for me for other reasons, and I'm and he goes, guess how much it appraised for? Could anybody guess how much it appraised for? 1.5. Oh, that would be great.
I won't be here.
How much?
It would be like 1.7.
1.7 million. Give him a round of applause.
1.7. We estimated 1.7, but he came back at 1.75.
I said, what kind of comps did you show them?
I prepared. I found the right comps.
Yes.
But yeah, we were, shooting up, and it was like, okay, let's maximize it, see what we can get. You can always, you have to ask to get what you want.
You have to ask. And then before we take Q&A, one more thing, one more step. So he didn't stop there. He could have stopped at his first property in Frederick, Maryland, that he bought for 200,000. He could have stopped there, but he did one more cash out refi. one more decision to get partners, one more vision, one more person to hire, one more step, one more thing, one more cash out refinance. He could have stopped there. But what he did was take out equity of this house, and he did one more. And he bought a 2-unit. So now he's doing a 2-unit project, just like next door, where it's 2 completely different properties that will rent for over $6,000 each and bringing great cash flow. And he's doing with HELOC money, others people's money, and his money. So give him a round of applause. All right, so we got 3 minutes for Q&A, and then we could circle back before Jared comes.
So, the comps you used, were they nearby the property?
I mean, everything in DC is like close. So it's
Yeah.
like, I went to like 16th Street Heights, for example. It's not far. Yeah, it's a different neighborhood, but it was like within the range of like 0.5 miles, 0.6. And also with like sold within the last 3-6 months. So, because I kind of knew what they look for. So I kind of, had around 5 to 6 of them in that higher end neighborhoods. And it's also because I did, a lot of upgrades that it's not available. Like if you look around in the neighborhood, there's no comp for this.
So his small decisions, those one more decision to get better floors, the more expensive floors, the nicer vanity,
Yeah, the rooftop. I mean,
the rooftop, how he structured, what electrical engineer or what architect to hire. All these small decisions added up to that one moment where he was able to cash out refi because not everybody could do that.
Yeah, how common are ADUs in DC and in the suburbs as well?
I mean, so ADUs are, I think, were created because to have so people can have a more affordable mortgage payment, and it's usually for houses on bigger lots. So not in the inner core, like in the city, unless they change that. But because in the city, usually like downtown or like U Street, all these they can do 2 units, but not ADU, because that's why you have to live in the house in order to be a candidate as ADU. So I'm not really like, I didn't look around to see if there's any around me, but I knew about it and I knew it's allowed in that zone where I bought the house. So I decided to do that.
I have a question. So when you do the, I'm sorry, Joyce Stewart. When you do the cash out, do you pay off the HELOC that you use so you can use it again? Or how does that work? Or you have to pay the HELOC with the rate that you're getting? Or how does that work?
Right. So it all depends on the interest rates. So with the HELOC being a variable interest rate, I've had one before that's been open for the last 3 years, paying 3% interest. It was very, And then I started seeing the mortgage, the payment going up and up and up. And I looked at it, it's like now it's 7%. So after I had that with the new house, I made sure I paid that off. Because now at 7%, I'm not going to keep it open. I kept it open. I mean, it just closed, paid off the balance. Yes. Another question?
I do have
Go ahead.
a teeny tiny question. So when you went to do the refinance part of it, and you did your pitch deck to, I guess, the
Right.
bank or what have you,
Mhm.
is that like before they came out to appraise, or is that after? Like, I mean, I'm just trying to figure out like when do you slide in there, be like, hey, I've got a pitch for you.
Yeah, well, first is whoever the mortgage lender or the bank, we were in touch. We told them what the value is at first to kind of like prep,
Okay.
and then yes, before the appraiser came out, we had PowerPoint printed out,
Nice.
nice color, spiral bound, all that stuff at FedEx.
Very nice.
So you
Make it
went
look nice.
into the office, into the whole.
No, I mean, the appraiser came to the house,
Oh,
and as
okay.
he comes in the house, here you go, Mr. Appraiser, and he's like, "Oh, that's for me." It's like, "Yes, that's for you."
I love it.
we did some of the work for you. So, and now he's looking at these comps
Yeah, you
and
did
why he's gonna look, trying to justify like, "Oh, okay, that makes sense." So,
And March 21st, we'll be talking about assembling your team. And part of it is a bank, a good bank that could do this for you is very important.
Yes.
Well, thanks, Joe. He's going to be sticking around. Thank you so much, Joe. Thanks, Russell.
Good afternoon, my name is Roberto Garces. I'm
Hey.
the owner of Green Construction Services Group.
Oh, okay.
We're a friendly environmental construction company working with the government. Private. I have one of my clients, very happy client, who invited me to this meeting. I'm doing a multifamily for him right now in this. So I'm learning, I'm a builder, but I don't know anything about, I do a lot of this work for other investors, but I haven't done it for myself, and that encouraged me to do it. So I just came to learn a little bit more. Thank you for now. But my question to you is, what are your vision? How many properties are you planning to have? How many to build per year?
Oh, we could definitely talk about that later. We're gonna have a networking session when this is done, probably in like 30 minutes, 40 minutes, and we'll just network.
No, but the question was to the other.
Oh, for Joe?
For Joe, yeah.
Oh,
For Joe?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, how many properties, what do you vision in terms of investing?
Yeah, I mean, the why, yes.
We're gonna have Russell come up. Russell Lyons, come on up. Carlos, you're in the hot seat now. It's your guy. You could dig into him and get some stories out of him. I wouldn't be able to do. A new father, give him a round of applause to Russell. 6 months. Let's go. Yeah.
So I know Russell a while, but today I know him for the first time, not as a client, but as a colleague. Because he's the newest member of our sales team.
Real estate agent.
All right.
So Russell is a brand spanking new realtor, but a grilled investment veteran. And I can say I've been working as a buy and hold investor for quite a long time myself, since the 90s, and a realtor for about 15 years, a little less time than that. And over the course of my time as a realtor, because humans are not perfect, as many victories as I've had with my investors, I'm often very frustrated with my investor clients because I feel like there's something I see that they don't see, and I want them to take advantage of it. Scott, who is my property manager partner, and is also a long-term buy and hold investor like me, was just nodding his head like, yeah, like you've got friends and family and clients and you want them to do these things, but the truth is life gets in the way. And so a lot of people don't end up doing what they think they want to do as investors. But occasionally as a high volume realtor who works with a lot of clients, many people just buying a home for the lifestyle choice. And then also with investors, occasionally I have a client who is as determined as I am to just move quickly and acquire investment properties. And so Russell and his wife, Alexis, fall into that category. So I'm really, really happy that I'm gaining a colleague. I'm a little sad I've lost a client because I mean, it's not just doing deals, but it's also like the satisfaction of like seeing somebody do it about as fast as they can. He has a job, his wife has a job, they've got other obligations, family, they're starting a family recently. Despite all of the challenges and the noise, they seem to isolate the variable, go after the next investment property. So, I mean, I can't even remember, but I feel like it was like a 48-month period where you were like in and out like 4 properties. It felt like something like that. We sold the DuPont apartment.
Yeah. So first property we bought, I'm not sure, Adam, I don't know if he was part of your team at the time or if he was just part of Keller Williams. But bought a condo on 16th Street in Logan Circle area. Co-op unit at the Chastleton building. So we bought that just as a primary residence at the time.
When was that?
2015. So bought, but wasn't really in the investing stage at that point. We did do a very uncomfortable renovation while we were living there. It's a 1-bedroom condo, but we're like, my dad's been in construction like his entire career, and my grandfather was a mason. My mom was a real estate agent. So I've been around it my whole life. So I was like, oh, this kitchen is like really aggravating, tiny little stove that you like can't cook on. It's because you can only get an electric stove in there. It's a piece of crap. And this wall was blocking, it had great natural light, but when you walked in, you walked directly into this wall. So it's like you didn't get any view into the unit. So we ripped that wall down, moved the kitchen island out another foot or 2 feet so that we could have like a larger kitchen area there. So that was our first project. Maybe not the wisest thing to do, like a 700 square foot apartment, but yeah, while living there, but we made it work. So that was our first one. And then our first property, I think, purchased with Carlos was actually only a couple blocks from here on Rock Creek Church. It's a fixer-upper unit, row house there. So we sold the co-op, just didn't seem like it was going to be a great rental at the time. There's a pretty large co-op fee in that building. So that's kind of, sometimes you have to be like, okay, is it worth holding on to this property or not? So at the time, didn't make sense. So we bought the house on Rock Creek. I think maybe one of the times where we didn't listen to Carlos as much, we're like, he's like, you don't need to put that much down on the property. Don't put that much down on the property. We're like, you can put less down. We're like, oh, we want to put 20% down. Probably a bad mistake because we wanted to renovate it. So immediately took a HELOC out of the property at like 2% higher than the mortgage. So, but then kind of renovated that house as well while we were living there, kind of top to bottom. Added a new bathroom on the a new master bathroom on the second floor, and whole kitchen, kind of sunroom area on the back part of the property. Put in a nice like paver.
Like over there, right?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
right over there.
So that was kind of our second property unit. So had sold our co-op on 16th Street, bought that, lived there for 2 years, or about 2 years, and we're like, we know we want to move and like potentially get something that's more of an investment property. So that was 2021. So the market was very hot at the time. So a couple months, but I think benefit of having a good relationship with your realtor. Carlos had a previous client that he had worked with that was about to put their house on the market in Eckington, 2-unit property. So we were able to get that kind of off market before it went on. So that saved us probably, I don't know, 40, 50,000 maybe from what it would have gone for. Saved the owner. They were gonna like put a bunch of work into it to sell it. So we probably saved them 20 or 30 grand that they were gonna do painting and stuff like that. So we bought that property, moved in, it's 2 units, rented out the basement unit while living there, put 3.5 down on an FHA loan there. So it was a little over $1 million house. So it was like 50,000 down, I think, at the time.
50,000 down on a 2-unit $1 million property.
So I think at that point I was like, okay, now like using leverage and like being a little bit smarter about it.
2-bedroom basement unit.
Yeah, so that was nice.
3 bedrooms upstairs.
Yeah,
in the main house, but you could add a bedroom on the first floor if you were
Yeah,
gonna, maybe make the house a little less physically beautiful, but a little bit more income productive. So that's an option down there. Also, when they sold the house on Rock Creek Church over there, they had a capital gain. They made money.
yeah. So held it 2 years to the day. So we excluded our capital gains tax on that. So another thing that.
So you guys know that rule, right? When you sell your primary residence.
No. So just anytime you sell your primary residence, if you've lived in it and owned it for 2 years, 2 out of the last 5 years.
1031's great too. Maybe in the future he'll do that at some point, but he didn't have to. He had the easier rule to use in that case.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, similar. We didn't think the rental prices in this area were gonna be great, so we decided to sell this property just because we recently completed kind of renovating it. Yeah, so we thought the market was very hot at the time. It was 2021.
So like take the money and run, and maybe the value was a little high relative to what you could rent it for, if that makes any sense. So just capture the value, get paid and move on.
So I think we bought it in 630 maybe. I'm trying to remember.
Sounds about right.
Around there, 630, 640. I think we probably we did basically all the work ourselves minus some like plumbing work and a little bit of electrical that we hired out. So I think we spent like 60, 70 grand on the renovation, and we sold it for I think $895. So it was about 200, I think, on the money that we made off that deal. So we took the money from that after we had moved to Eckington, living in that 2-unit property, renting out the basement. Around like Labor Day, there was like a little bit of lull in the market in 2021, and we were driving around with Carlos. We want to take that money. We're not going to like sit on it in the bank account. We're going to go buy an investment property.
I said, wait a minute, guys, you just did all that other stuff. Are you sure?
Yeah,
The speed at which they were thinking and doing, the doing, obviously, sweat equity, just buying the Petworth house, getting a line of credit, that takes work, right? Then doing the work and figuring out which work you're going to do versus you have the plumber and the electrician do it. It's a lot of like decisions along the way. So they're very much doers, but then they're also like constantly talking to loan officers, to figure out, well, and the loan officer's like, we just closed. Like, you're coming at me again? Yes, I am. I want to know now what can I do? And maybe the answer is, well, you got to wait it out a minute because we can't do another primary so fast. And then they even push the envelope on learning the exceptions to that rule. A lot of times, if you buy a primary residence, you can't get another application primary residence so quick. They start, there's a degree to which the lenders will cooperate with you, taking full advantage of the system. And then there's a degree to which it's like, that's a little too fast every month. But these guys are going to try, is their whole energy. So I do remember that this officer calls me. He's like, yeah, I can't believe it. He called me. And, I said they can't do it. But then I went and looked it up, and there's exceptions, right?
Being pregnant, took advantage of that.
Extenuating.
Use that. So yeah, I think just think about some of the like smaller things on the Petworth house. I guess maybe just a tip, like we were able to get the permits approved, even though we were doing some like more significant work there. We were able to pull the permit ourselves and draw the plans out because it was under a certain amount of square footage that we were doing it on. So if you're looking at doing smaller renovations, that can be, even if it's maybe a moderate size renovation. But yeah, so we had been wanting to get to kind of standalone house. So market was going down a little bit, or like prices were starting to maybe stay a little bit flatter. Interest rates had just started going up, and renovation that had happened. The owners weren't doing a good job marketing the property. We saw it once, the first time we saw the property. I walked out and like, this is terrible. I'm never gonna live here. They cut the price like $100,000. So we're like, okay, well, let's go back. So that got it kind of like more reasonable price. Needs some work.
Was it around 7?
760, I think.
For a detached house in Brookland. What's the address again?
It's on Kearney Street.
The 1300?
1800.
1800 block. Okay.
So
Yeah.
over by the elementary school over there, this big park.
But like really, really a nice house. That it seems like the kind of house that should be in the 9s or above. But it was a little bit weird the way they renovated it. But
So I think aesthetic stuff that you can change maybe on a smaller scale renovation.
So one of the top takeaways for Russell and Alexis, his wife, got to give her credit too. She's not here right now. But is that they're like constantly just pushing forward by doing things or exploring options, and just exploring, like even I feel like they're going to make a call to figure out if something's possible, even if they know it's a 70% chance it's not, but because they just want to know. They're just going to keep sort of pushing to expand their net worth. They're not afraid of debt. I think they've gotten more comfortable with debt. If you have heard me go on and on about the keys to wealth building, one of them I do think is debt, right? And so a lot of us grow up thinking that we hear our parents say they want to get the debt off their back, they want to avoid debt, but there's great debt, and mortgage debt tends to be pretty damn good in terms of the deal you get relative to other kinds of debt you can take on, where the rate is and the fact that you can fix it. And the amount that you can get, I owe millions of dollars, right? But by the time I die, that's all going to be mine, right? My tenants are paying it, right? So it's like, I think of like these big empty cups, of debt, a little bit of water at the bottom. That's my down payment. And I got these tenants filling them up for me. So the goal for me actually is to have as much debt as possible, since I know I'm not paying for it. I'm not paying for it. They're filling it up. Why would I want a small cup? A big cup is what I'm after. And these guys in very little time, have accumulated very excellent debt, right? I mean, you probably are bordering on 2 million of debt,
Yeah.
And probably I think you're very eligible for more right now, right? You're in the market.
Yeah.
So this segues into what's your next venture?
So I think, like I said, constantly trying to look and see, especially now with the market interest rates being higher, a little bit tougher.
So it's seller financing we're talking about?
Trying to find properties that work. So had some relatives in Massachusetts that have owned a couple rental properties there, and they're getting older, retirement age at this point. So this conversation is more about potential ways to maybe find deals right now, because we're in the middle of potentially doing this deal. So they kind of approach people in our family. Is anyone interested in, we're going to liquidate, we're going to sell this. We don't want to 1031 exchange this property. We're just trying to get rid of some of our assets at this point at their retirement age. So sent a kind of message out to different family members, being like, anyone interested at the price point that they suggested, maybe it would work, but maybe it didn't make the most amount of sense.
Buying the properties off of them up in Massachusetts.
So it's one property in specific, it's around 600,000. So it didn't maybe necessarily make the most amount of sense thinking about it traditionally, like, oh, I'm going to go to bank, get a 7% interest rate right now, put 20% down on this property, which we don't have the savings to do that right now. So
you got the email, you looked at it, and it was from a family member.
Yeah.
So you found a motivated seller, right? Just through the streets. The second thing is, how are you going to get this asset? I hear the price is too high, too low, but what would be the financing terms? Do they owe any money on it?
I believe it's in clear at this point, paid off.
Oh, that's the best.
Yeah. So I think, seller financing wasn't originally like part of the conversation, but I think they mentioned that they were doing some other stuff with talking with lawyers about their assets and stuff like that. So I said, thinking that's like, oh, seller financing. Initially, I was like, we might be able to get like a lower interest rate or something like that, or smaller down payment or no down payment.
So you found an opportunity, and now you bring it to the table to talk about, because this is a great opportunity, and there's a lot of other ones out there. If you turn the page to here, and it perfectly ties into subject 2, there are 2 assets we are looking for right now. Not only the property. Sure. Thank you, Carlos. There's 2 things we're looking for in this market, right? It's the property, obviously, but what Russell is saying, it's also the note. And why do I say that? Like, we're after the underlying mortgage. Last year, people, I think there's a statistic like 80 or 90%, there's a chart, I could send it out. The average interest rate people have right now is 4%. So if I find a house with a note on it, I'm going to get that 4% note. Now, so you have to negotiate the property, but you also find the note. So I'm not paying 7-8%, which is now, i.e., the problem, because you have to figure out how the hell am I not going to pay 8%, because now the numbers definitely don't work. Definitely don't work. It's all your profits. A $600,000 house at a 3% interest rate is like $3,300. You raise that to 6%, goes from 3,300 all the way up to 4,800, something like that. Almost doubles. So it really doesn't make the numbers make sense. So seller financing, what he's talking about is just like Joe did. You have an agreement. The first step, you find the motivator. You find the deal or the opportunity. That's what I call it. Find the opportunity. The second thing is you have to understand their wants and needs. Do they want residual income, i.e. me paying them per month?
Also, so what was the incentive for them? So there's a little bit of suggesting, oh, you're going to speak to your lawyer, legal advice, whoever is about your assets in general. Maybe ask them about seller financing, if that would be a good option for you. One helps them avoid capital gains on a massive sale of the property and gives them income, retirement age now. They don't have W-2 income coming in anymore. So you need income for different things that you want to do in life, when applying for finance and different things.
So instead of paying the bank, Russell's gonna pay them 3,300 or whatever it is. The bank would get $5,000, 4,800, or Russ could pay his family member 3,300. Well, I don't, how do I know I trust you? Are you gonna pay on time? How is this all gonna work? And pointing them to the financial advisor, kind of legitimize.
Wasn't like, oh, let's talk them about like, oh, we gotta do this. This is how we do this deal. It was, why don't you go talk to a third-party person, get expert advice on it. I'm not an expert legal person. I don't know a ton about seller financing at this point.
And we could keep them on the deed. Just add me to the deed, stroke of a pen, right? Someone could just sign easily that he's part of the deed, and that way he knows that he owns it, right? If you go to the title attorney, you might have to cost. Sandy's always never on mute.
Yeah, so I think subtly suggesting, why don't you check out the seller financing option? They have a current tenant in place at the property through August, so probably will be a deal potentially later in the year.
But what do you need next? What's one more thing, one more step? Who's the next person you're going to talk to?
So I think on the side, as part of this, like, okay, the house is probably near the end of its like useful life in terms of renting out to tenants currently. The current tenant's been in there for like 15 years. So it's a very steady market. It's a suburban house. So
What town?
Wayland. So it's in a good school district, good town, where it's like you can have someone, they've had other tenants at another property stay there for like 12 years, same thing. Someone gets there in the same place with their kids are going to school, they want to stay there 10, 15 years. But yeah, the property is pretty run down at this point. So we're like, oh, we're going to need some money for renovating this property, most likely. So we've been saving up for the next deal.
So saving's a huge part. You do need cash. Unfortunately, you could use other people's money, but you need a little skin in the game. People always want to see that.
And then we also looked at doing, we just completed doing a HELOC on the investment property that we bought with the money.
Oh,
from our Rockland
congratulations.
Church. So
give them a round of applause on that.
Yeah.
How many people? So he came up, we had a guest from TD Bank to get a HELOC, and it's not that easy getting a HELOC off of an investment property.
Yeah, so it wasn't quite the amount that we wanted. The appraisal, unfortunately, did not work out quite as well. We tried a couple times. So I guess one thing that I'm not sure if it's the same way with purchasing, but we had them go back 2 additional times to do like additional appraisal assessments with new comps. Didn't work out, but so the amount was less than we were hoping for, but it's something that we can use on this renovation. So maybe we have this for. I have to go back and check, but 1.1 something.
And then the other tools in your toolbox that you're going to have is a lawyer, right? You need a good lawyer to write up this contract, to get you on title. And there's going to be some other people that you're going to need to deploy in order to get this asset, write actual on the note, promissory note, to be able to finance this, and a third party to collect the money. So just like you pay a mortgage, and the bank might be the processor, but there's a lot of processors out there that will take the money and put it into their account. So you don't have to be the bank. You just hire what's called processor. So there's some steps, but it's not easy, right? This is a vision that he has, and the vision that someone else has to have a retirement, right? And not to pay the capital gains tax. And he's going to have a rental. It's not going to hit his credit. He doesn't have to show his own assets or income. It's just solely based on hiring the right people, finding the way, doing the analysis, making sure the rental comps work, and then maybe asking people for money, which I'm sure you're going to do if push comes to shove for this renovation, and the numbers will make sense. Do you know what you were rented for?
It's a little tough. I think they're currently getting like 2,800, but I think it's way under the market where it currently is, or maybe 3,200 they're getting. So it's in like a very good school district on like very close proximity to all the schools in the town, and like a private neighborhood, so it's not on like some busy road or anything.
So this will be part one. In 6 months, we're gonna come back and see what you're gonna do, because I could guarantee you're gonna learn so many things.
Yeah.
And because of your grit and your hard work, you're gonna make this deal work. You're gonna have one more under your belt.
Yeah, hopefully. And I guess one thing, like, things we're like, you know, saying a little bit about, like, what is the lowest interest rate we could get from them? So there is a applicable federal rate that the government IRS sets for stuff like seller financing or I guess private loans that you're doing. So that's a rate that you can't go under that. But like right now, it's like 3.8, 3.7. So that's something like seller financing that's like, yep, learn that as doing research about this. So not going to get a 0% loan. Sometimes people are charging more than the current interest rate if they're seller financing, but if it's maybe a family member or someone that's not like, they're just looking for capital gains purposes, maybe you can get it below.
Russ, I
current
like
interest
5.
rates.
I say 5.
Yeah.
So we have 3 more minutes, so
Let's do it quick.
go ahead.
So when, with this, deal that you're thinking of your family in Massachusetts, so you guys become part of the team, right, of the house? The current owners and become owners of the property, right?
So I think there's different ways. I think they hold still, I think, primary ownership on the title.
But my basic question is, fine. Suppose that you need more money now to finance the renovation and so on.
Mhm.
Can you get a second mortgage on that property? Because the whole idea is trying to keep the current mortgage in place, right? So you want to change that rate. Right?
Yeah.
But can you get a second mortgage given the the hybrid nature of who owns the house?
I mean, I'm not an expert on seller financing, so I'm not 100% sure on that.
The simplest way is literally, it's just a normal purchase where they're off the deed and he's on the deed. He and his wife are on the deed, and they just happen to be the lender. So they don't get proceeds or not much. They actually are just getting the monthly payment and principal and interest. And maybe you can, like Nick said, use a third party to administer it, but you don't have to. I've got one in my family going right now, and we're just paying directly. My brother and I are paying my parents directly for a property that we bought from them.
Yeah.
With seller financing.
Are you saying, can you get another loan off of it?
That's not good, because the idea is to keep the current mortgage.
Yeah.
Right, you don't, that's that.
Yeah.
Well,
So there's no current mortgage on the property.
Oh, no, but
But in
the next point, let's cut for those mortgages, right? That was the one of the two.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes.
Right. So then, so you want to keep that mortgage, but you may need more money. So nobody's going to get a second mortgage with that mortgage in place.
Well, I mean, if you think it through, one of the things is that the parents or the relatives, once they have a mortgage, right? They're his lender after the
Oh, he's talking
transaction's
about
gone
my
through.
example when you're trying to
Keep
take
the
some.
4% in
Yeah,
place.
yeah. Let's say they had a mortgage.
Yeah, but they don't have a mortgage. I think.
I know, but he's saying
Different
if they get different scenario.
Uh-huh.
Yes, it depends on, so you could always get a second lien, but it's a lot riskier, the second position. And finding someone to take the second position on an investment property is tough. Now, but you can get it done, and the numbers have to work. So second liens usually don't go up to 100% loan to value. So the property's worth 700,000. You can't, and your first lien's 500. Some people aren't able to lend that whole 200 grand, that up to that 100% loan to value. Some of them take its 80% loan to value. Some of them 70%. So and the riskier the bank, there are some subprime out there. So it can be done to get 100% or close to that. But the interest rate's going to be higher, and because the risk is a
The
lot.
point I was going to make was that if you do it just a traditional, you buy it from them, they give you a mortgage. If they don't record that mortgage, then there's no debt on it apparently, and so someone might lend you on that.
Yeah. Say that one more time. So
Well,
everybody can hear.
if the family, like, I'm pretty sure my parents didn't record the mortgage that my brother and I have with them. And so a lender right now won't see a mortgage against that property. And also, if a lender is just running my social security number, it won't show up as debt under my social.
They might ask you on a questionnaire, are you paying,
Very good
which
point.
which they do.
And you're supposed to tell the truth.
You're supposed to tell the truth. But maybe for those subprime, they don't have those applications.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
So you just have a contract with your payments? Is that what it is? Just basically a contract?
Yeah, I mean, like a bunch of mortgage documents that you would execute at a settlement. This is in New York, title attorney drew them up. You know, including, all the mortgage instruments, deed of trust and so forth. Yeah, so it's just that because my folks aren't a bank, they didn't necessarily run it downtown and get it recorded against the deed,
But it's protected,
Oh, yeah, like the documentation says, like if you fail to pay, we can go after the asset because it's secured against the asset. Yes. But they just probably didn't perfect the lien, downtown. Yeah.
I just want to make sure I heard you correctly. Did you say that if you're buying a property via seller financing, you have to pay the seller at least a 3% interest rate?
So there's a IRS, I think, applicable federal rate. I was looking it up earlier, but yeah, so there's something set by the IRS, basically so that you can't get like avoid paying like a gift tax or something of that
Is
nature.
that same as like the imputed interest rule?
I'm not
No.
sure. But yeah, so I think I looked it up. It's around like 3.8% today. So
So it's not just for DC, it's national.
yeah, nationwide, and IRS updates it like every month, like the 20th of the month, they publish it for the next month, what that rate is. So
So that's the minimum interest you have to
Yeah.
pay someone if you're doing seller financing.
yeah, so a way for them to make,
That's a good
make some money
benchmark.
that the seller will have to report as income that they're getting.
What if you build that 3% into the down payment that you give them? Will that count as a 3%? Yeah.
I'm not sure about that, like prepaying the interest on it. Possibly.
Creative. I like it.
Or just give them 3% more than
Yeah,
the market value of the house.
exactly.
Purchase price.
Right. No, exactly that. Well, thank you, Russell. He'll stick it around. We have the card to you. All right, one last guess before we get into the market conditions. Bruno, give Bruno a round of applause. So I was hoping Bruno was going to come.
Thank you.
Again,
Yeah, I mean, to invite me, I come, but yeah,
The
I
more,
didn't expect to be talking in front of so many people, so I would have put a shirt on,
the more I talk to Bruno and learn him, the more I love him as a person.
Thanks, Dave.
And
Love you
anytime.
too.
And we're becoming friends. So we met. He owns a development company called Square Residential. I want to write that down because they're going places.
I guess, but
What's it called?
Square Residential. They have a team. I'm looking for adding members too. You should tell people.
Oh, yeah, we're looking for an executive admin, actually. Somebody that can get shit done and learn it done and we'll pay them, but, we've been having a very ready to fill that role.
So it's only 2 people right now, plus some help from overseas with
Oh, we hired them.
virtual assistants.
Yeah, they're gone.
No, what about your coders?
Oh, they're gone too.
All right,
No,
so
the
he codes.
coders were good. The coders were good, but we're kind of done.
Oh my goodness.
We got to move, man.
So he writes his own code
Well,
for
sometimes, yeah.
some So it's basically an application that tracks the loans because he has so many debt. How much debt do you have? 25
know.
million?
Yeah, between 20 to 30 million, I'm not sure.
And Russell, how much do you have? 2.
Yeah, I guess with our prime, like 2.5.
How much debt do you guys have? 3. Okay. And this 25?
I don't know, between 20 and 30, I don't know.
30
I don't know.
I know because I saw the spreadsheet.
Yeah, but it's changing.
Oh. So he developed a code because he has so much debt. He has somewhere to keep track of it and the payments when they're due.
Yeah, because the banks don't trust them.
Don't trust them to want their money?
No, they don't want their money, but they want
But
yours too.
they're charging them too much interest or
They make
double
mistakes.
interest. And then once you start drawing money, right, from the banks, they give you draws if you're doing a project, right? You buy a house and they pay for the renovation, the money doesn't come from you, it comes from the bank. They do draws out of the bank, and that's what we're referring to. And you have to track how much money do you have left with this person to draw out this money. So he has a team. It's one other person, and he mainly does the financing part, which I'm so happy that you're here, because $25 million is a lot. Where is the other? Well, where do you get the funds
The
from?
bank, the money, bank,
The
the
money,
people,
from
everybody.
so other people, because you do fundraise,
Yeah, we fundraise.
which we'll talk about, but basically he's he was working the 9 to 5,
Yeah,
going to
for the government.
working his job.
Sucked. A lot of them. I worked for the White House, the Treasury, the Small Business Administration. I've been around. Whoever paid the most, I used to be a contractor.
Okay,
So I would just move.
that's good.
He was working his job and making this much, right? 100 grand, 200 grand,
Yeah, probably
half a
close to that.
million.
Nah, I wish. If the government was paying $500,000,
Ah,
I would get a bunch of other people to do it.
and still keep your 9 to 5, because it is risk, right?
Yeah, yeah.
All this debt is risk. And so he was working the 9 to 5. When was this?
Up to 2017.
Wow, again, 2018, 6 years ago.
Yeah. Actually, yeah, we started real estate development in 2000. We did 4 that we were warming up.
Great. So, and how many projects do you have now?
I have like 14 condo conversions,
And
something like that.
5 each, so
5 units? No, I could not. Average, I think, is probably 10 units now.
10 units each.
We're
So-
probably about 200 units.
So 14 properties, 200 units under his belt in
I mean,
6
not
years.
built, so we're building it now.
Oh, I know.
That's a
I know.
current cycle.
But that doesn't sound good. I can't sell that. 200 houses, 200 units from 4 units
Yeah, for
in
4
6
houses.
years.
Oh, yeah, well, we did, yeah, that's what we're building currently, but then we built a bunch, yeah.
Yeah,
We
that's
built
true.
already 80, 89.
So he's not a buy hold, but he is a development company. So he was working the 9 to 5 job. And what was the mind shift? And when did you start to get into real estate?
Actually, much earlier. I was lending my 401k back in 2012, 13. Yeah, because when you have your own company, I don't know if you know, but you can do a self-directed 401k. And with this money, you can invest it in real estate. So I was investing in a real estate company. Actually, my current business partner at a different company with a different guy. And I was lending them money at 12%, like in 2012 and 13 and 14. And you could put like up to 50 grand a year inside your 401k, and then you recycle. How much you make on the markets on average? About 8%. I was making 12. Very limited risk because I had a lien on those properties. And that's what I've been doing since. And then I was like, why, if this guy is paying me 12%, he must be making a lot more. And then I was like, maybe I should look into that. And so that was the start of this, moving to real estate.
So you got to get a hold of him. If you're working the 9 to 5 and you don't know about self-directed IRA, I think that's a huge tool, not only for you to use, but maybe to teach someone to use, right? Because that's a value add, and that's money right there, right?
Self-directed though, you got a 9 to 5.
Yes, that's
away from the job.
yes and no. So you can have only one I'm talking about 401k specifically because IRAs are similar, but I'm not 100% sure on all the rules. I know a little bit more about 401ks because that's what I've been using. But I'll tell you another trick after that I learned from the newspaper actually. So you start with I'm start with a 401k. So I had a 9 to 5. I was an employee W2, and I was getting a 9 to 5. So then I was a contractor. So I had my own company, and I was a software consultant. So they would want me to make whatever code, programs, whatever. And so I was like, okay, cool. So I would go and do that for the government. Why the government? Not because I like them, just because they were the ones who paid the most in DC. Like they paid most in the Amazons and the Googles locally. So I was like, okay, I'm going to do that. And it sucked. I hated it. And, but I did it, right? I mean, it sucked. I did it. And, you do what you want to do. If my objective was to make as much money in the shortest amount of time. So I did that, accumulated some money in my 401k, but then that's when you can open a self-directed. You have to have your own business. But another way that you could do it is, I don't know, start a photo business. You know, sell a couple of pictures, open a 401k, all the money you make, put it in there, and that's it. I mean, I'm telling you a photo business because a lot of people like to do photography and they could make money that way. You don't have to have like hundreds of thousands of dollars in your business. You can start like something small. And then the advantage of that is you can roll over your current employers or previous employers inside that fund, which is what I did. Your previous employers, yeah.
How much did you start that account with, and how much?
I started with zero, man. I came to America with 2 pennies in my pocket.
And how much did you put in every year?
I put between 30 and 50 grand, depending on the years.
Okay, and then is there an example you could give us of how much money you lended your friend for the 12%?
What do you mean an example? I
Are
mean,
they 100 grand or?
Oh no, I mean a few hundred thousands, yeah, over time.
So you put money every year.
Every year, I put 50 grand and 50 grand, or let's say 30 grand, whatever the number is. So you put that money in, and then after that, you make your loan. So as you accumulate that, so that first time I lended like something like $20,000 or something like that, and then I got my interest every month. And then the next year, I put another, let's say 50 grand. Now I have 70. Then I lend 70. Now I'm getting, $700 a month.
Are you penalized when you lend money out from that 401k?
No, I'll tell you why. Because the fund is lending, it's not you. It's all done in the name of the 401k. It's kind of like a company.
Okay.
So the way they do it is actually through a trust. They create a trust that is the same thing that follows the 401k rules.
Got it.
And there's a company that does that I've been using. They're not the best, but no, they're not the best. They're the cheapest, but they're not the best. Meaning that I'll give you another one that's much more reputable. It's Equity Trust. But I use mysolo401k.net because they're way cheaper and I like cheap.
But are they stealing your money?
No. You
I
have
don't know. What?
well because
Direct. You're referring to
Yeah.
self-direct?
yeah, self-directed exactly. I use mysolo401k.net.
My solo.
Yeah, that's the website, mysolo401k.net. And then there's another one which is Equity Trust. The difference is they coach you and they make sure you don't break the rules with the Equity Trust. So there's more control on their side. And if the IRS come, they could make your entire 401k taxable if you're cheating.
Got it.
So, or if you make a mistake. So if you mess up, then they're gonna come after you and be happy to take a bunch of money from you for government stuff.
So
So
what
you-
was the name of the other one?
Equity Trust.
And my solo 401k.
Just from one real estate investor, number, one thing about equity trust, they will assess the fee based on your asset, which is not, and you already started saying
Right.
it's not the
So-
best. You want the one price fee, just something to consider. There's lots of good companies out there.
Yeah, those are just two examples, right? I mean, I'm not endorsing any of them.
One that I actually have had a good experience with is the neighbors group. It's solo401k.com. Because I looked at my solo 401k, I heard the same thing. I think I covered interest or fees are like quite high. You do a flat fee. There's more expensive than my solo 401k.
Yeah, I think the one I paid for myself, I think I paid $750 to set up everything. And then every year they charge me $125. And they don't have your money. Your money is in a bank account that you control with a regular bank. So for example, I like Schwab. So I put my 401k in Schwab and that's it. And there's a big difference between 401ks and IRAs, which has to do with creditors. If somebody comes after you and sues you for whatever reason, your money inside your 401k, they cannot get it, except your wife if you get divorced. That's the only person who can get your money. But there's other mechanisms to try to avoid that too. But when it comes to IRAs, you have to they're not creditor proof. So that's kind of like something to manage as far as risk goes.
So we have a team. It's you and your partner. You have the banks that give you the money, right?
Well, they're mostly our money lenders. Because we can have better leverage, a greater leverage. We pay more interest.
Why not commercial banks?
Because they I shouldn't say nothing, I'm being recorded, right?
This is not tax,
No, it's not about the taxes. It's about like, so I'll give you an example. If you want to borrow $1 million, okay? Let's say you borrow $1 million from a commercial bank and they want, let's say 25% down. That means you need to bring 250,000. Well, let's do a bigger, well, that's fine, 250,000. So then what you do, what you want to do is, if you go to our money lender, so do you want to get a lower rate? Right now, the rate's about like what, 8-9% for commercial banks? That's what the guys were quoting
sure,
us.
8-9%.
Yeah, for commercial bank. But then if you go to our money lender, where you don't need to put 250,000, you need to put maybe 150,000. So you have just an extra $100,000 that you can deploy in a different project. So if you do that 10 times, you can buy an extra full project. And so the difference, as far as cost, we pay about 12% to
Yeah,
our
10 to
lenders.
12, yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, mostly 11.75 to 12%. That's what we've been seeing. So for 3% is the same thing as raising like $100,000. So the fact that there's a higher leverage, even though I pay more interest, I can do an entire project with volume. Therefore, it makes more sense for us to do that.
So with hard money lenders, they don't require the 25%?
They require less.
They finance on the deal.
Yes, they look at the
Underwrite
deal.
on the deal.
Yeah, because you know, like when people were like shocked about how much debt I have, like somebody was saying to look at your credit report. No, it doesn't pull off from my credit report. All that stuff doesn't show up because it's all under company names. I mean, nobody would lend me 25 million. I would have paid that. No, they would have lent me $1 million. It doesn't show up on my credit report because it's all company debt. Yeah.
Then, so where do you get the rest of the money?
People like you, so if you don't want to give money, I'll take it. So I'm a fancy panhandler, if you think about it. I just go around and tell people, hey, give me some money, I'll give you some more money back. And I'll show them a deal, basically. Like it's the way we do it is we raise money on deals. So we put a pro forma together, some ideas for investors, what they want to see. We show them, we say, hey, you know, for this deal, we are offering, we're doing an offering of 8%. For this deal, we're doing an offering of 12%. I mean, it varies on the deal, it varies on the amount. And that's kind of it. I just ask people like you and me from the 401ks, from
But he has a presentation, right? You know,
Yeah,
he's
presentation.
prepared. And you have a criteria, right? You send me a criteria. He's like, Nick, these zip codes, these zonings, these are the best ones to buy in.
Right.
This is where we could leverage. You know, this is our strategy. Nick, stick with strategy. This doesn't align with the strategy.
Oh yeah, that's right. Because like the thing is, in real estate, there's so many things to do, right? What Joe's doing is a smart thing to do. But you know, you gotta have money to do that. So, you know, Joe knows all those fancy doctors. So I gotta work hard. I gotta work hard to raise money, to build capital, to then, you know, keep buildings and stuff. We try to do multi-units mostly because it has to do with risk management. When you do single family houses, the issue with those is you work on like smaller profit margins. And if something goes bad, that's not good. I mean, we had two very nice houses in Capitol Hill at the beginning of the pandemic. I mean, those buyers, they made it out like bandits. I mean, we lost like $200,000 on those houses because the market dipped. We had our money on it and we had to dump. So
you lost money
on those two flips.
Money.
Right after the pandemic, would have made it like bandits if we could have if we had a crystal ball, we would have held it for a year.
Yeah.
But then we didn't know what was going to happen, so we just dumped it. $200,000. It's kind of like, you know, I don't like it. Like you got to stomach it. And
so you're diversifying now with the condo conversions, maximizing the price per square foot. You have a strategy down.
Right.
Let's take a live example.
Yeah, sure.
Harvard?
I gotta think about it. Harvard. Yeah. I don't remember how much we bought it for, but go ahead.
Sure.
I can look. Yeah.
No, let's say you bought it for 1.2 million.
Yeah, sure.
And
something like that.
So
yeah.
his criteria was good zoning, that you develop it, and RA2, right? So you got to know people that know these rules. You could develop 1.8 times the lot.
Yeah, the lots. Yeah.
So you bought it for 1.2. Do you know how much you put into it? I hate to put you on this.
You put me on the spot. Yeah, I don't know much. Would probably like the thing is when you do a hard money loan, they also look at the
after repair value.
Right, but not only that. they also look at how much it's gonna be the construction cost. Because
Total
then,
cost,
you know,
right?
so our down payment was probably like, I'm guessing, $500,000, I'm guessing, because
I'm sorry, how much?
maybe $500,000. Because you need to,
Acquisition costs plus your construction costs, then you put 10% down of that. So
right,
if it was 1.2 plus 500,000, that's 1.7. I said, Washington Capital Partners, we need $1.7 million. And they
Right.
said, well, you got to show us skin in the game. You can put 10 or 20% down. Obviously, the more you put down, the better the terms. They required, let's say, 10% down. So you had to come up with only 170,000
yeah,
plus
plus all the closing costs.
and
everything else.
prepaid interest. So you're at maybe another 70 grand. So you're at not 170, but 250,000 for $1.7 million.
The loan,
asset.
right, something like that, yeah.
And with that, then we do what are we going to sell it for? How many units? What is the out sale going to be?
Knock on
Let's
wood.
say there's going to be,
Just wood, let's knock on wood. because
Yeah,
we gotta
no,
sell this
I
thing.
know. and if you want to check it out, it's a beautiful project on
Yeah,
14th and Harvard.
1471 Harvard.
1471. If you want to get out your phone, it's on the market. There are seven units.
Yeah, 7 units.
100,000 each.
Oh, no, not
600
each, not each. I
Well,
mean,
on average.
oh, no,
What's the name of the street?
1741 Harvard.
1770, 40, sorry, it's 1471.
1471.
Yeah.
Street Northwest.
Yeah.
Gorgeous project. And the goal is to sell it for the most.
But
And the price per square foot, if you sell this house and break it down, price per square foot, it's about $400 a square foot. With
Yeah.
his, it's about double. It's about $675 a square foot.
not maybe more.
Because there's multiple units, efficiency, density is king. And you'll probably make, let's do the math.
We're trying to pull like what, 4.7, 4.8 mil out of it?
5 unit?
7 units.
7, yeah.
So 4.5,
They're not all listed, only 3 are listed.
so you put you bought it for 1.2, put 500,000 into it. That's
Oh, no, I think we
1.7.
put more than that into it. 500,000, I think, is just down payment. I think we have to put 500,000 down payment. I think the construction
oh.
cost is a lot more than it.
Oh, yeah, that
Yeah,
makes
yeah,
more sense.
Yeah.
So my story is not right.
Not exactly, but that's okay.
No, you're right, because the construction, it's about $1 million,
Yeah,
at
yeah,
least
yeah, at least,
1.2 million. So,
yeah.
sorry. So backtrack, you had to put $500,000 down.
Yeah.
So we won't go into the details, but where did you raise that 500,000 from?
Just various people, like literally all private investors. Like those are like private people that walk around with 401ks, putting their house, don't know what to do with, or other things. Like, let's think about it. Like, if you borrow money at like 6% and lend it out at 12, I mean, you're making 6%. Or could be anything. Like, could be anything, anybody. Like, look, I'll tell you another thing that's kind of funny and sad. It's funny from the perspective that, well, let's start with sad parts. My ex-wife took a bunch of my money, and what did she do? She invested back with me.
That's a good thing.
Well, I'm not too upset about it. She's too old to have another kid, so it's gonna go to my daughter, so it doesn't matter at the end of the day. So it's all calculated, right? But so yeah, so that's here's an
That's how
example.
much, that's what a lovable guy gets.
She's not doing that because she loves me, I guarantee.
But you got it, and so you were able to, you put them all in LLC. How do you guarantee this money?
Oh yeah, we put, so basically the way we structured is we have a company that does the financing. It's just basically a loan aggregation company. That's the way to think about it, or loan servicer. We opened a company and we only finance well, sometimes other people's deals, but it's very rare, especially now in this economy, and it's too much headache for too little money for us. But what we do is we collect this money and we put all this money in basically together. We make one loan and we lend it to a specific project. So if somebody lends us $1, we know exactly where the dollar is. It's in, that project. And it's basically just loans, It's a loan and you own a percentage of the loan. Let's say we are raising $100,000. For example, 10 people gave us $10,000, that's $100,000. And that's how we do it. And it's secured with second liens. We was asking about second liens. We put a second lien on the property and we give that to our investors. Yeah. Yes, sir.
So the hard money lender will let you put a second lien on it?
So yes, not all of them, but some of them do. WCP, they let us do it. Two others don't. WCP, Washington Capital Partners.
So be careful.
Yeah,
They
they
don't
kinda-
give you your money back quickly.
Yeah, well, yeah, we had a couple of issues with them. That's, you know.
So in tight markets, you have to be very careful with lender, because now they're not as liquid, right? Properties are sitting on the market, construction costs are going up, less buyers are out there. So money is less liquid.
Yeah, when it's less liquid, I mean, I don't know what they're doing exactly, but I don't know. I don't want to talk about their business. I don't know much about the insides of it.
Who are you looking to join your team? You're talking about people to invest in your projects?
Oh, we look
So
for
two
everything.
people.
I mean, we like investors. Yeah, obviously investors to do new projects, or another thing that we're looking for is actually somebody to actually do work, like a job,
What kind of-
and an
Like
administrative.
office work?
Yes.
Or,
Yeah,
oh,
office work,
okay.
administrative assistant, executive assistant.
Oh, got it, okay.
Yeah, an executive.
What's
assistant.
the email that?
Email Bruno at Square Residential in one word.
Say it again, please.
Bruno?
Bruno at squareresidential.com in one word.
Great.
Yeah, you're welcome, man.
Well, thank you so much,
Yeah, you're
Bruno.
welcome.
Appreciate it.
Anytime,
Thank
thanks for
you.
having me.
Thank you. And he'll be hanging around here.
Yeah, as long as it's free drinks though.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.
All right, so before everybody mingles, we got a little food, but more of the company. So share, get your business cards out. The next one's on the 21st. We'll be having that in Capitol Hill. Start mingling, please. If you didn't introduce yourself, please come up to me, and I'll be letting you go with these. But make sure you guys make a commitment. Do one more thing by the next time we meet to put you in a better position, whether that's saving money, talking to someone, to get you pre-approved for your next deal.